Hello everyone. In this video we will see what are inbound flows in ServiceNow in Flow Designer. If you have worked on inbound actions in ServiceNow, these are pretty much similar to that but with low coding. If you haven't worked on inbound actions, there is no need to worry, you can learn it from scratch. So basically when ServiceNow receives an email, what actions can we do on that email, on what type of conditions, and the conditions could be like if the email is a new email reply or a forward, or maybe if it's an automated email. So all those actions can be done in the inbound flow. Also, I would recommend you to see a video before this where I have explained how can we activate or deactivate emails in ServiceNow, what are the functionalities to configure the emails in ServiceNow. Please click on the top right corner for that. Next, what is the definition of inbound email and flows? Inbound email is a mail sent from any user into ServiceNow. ServiceNow parses the incoming email and acts action based on the inbound email flows. So basically this says the same thing which I have said in the introduction, that ServiceNow will parse the email which has been sent to ServiceNow, and we will create a flow in the flow designer and it will do all the actions based on that flow designer. Now ServiceNow analyzes this received email to determine if the message or the email is a reply, forward, or new message. Next is if the message references to an existing record and if the sender is a known user. So we will cover these 3 points in a second. The first one is how can we determine if the email is reply, forward, or new. We can see this configuration on the email properties in ServiceNow. I have explained it in my past video which I had shared a link earlier for that, and the link is also in the description. You can go into the email properties and here you can actually define how can we categorize an email as a reply. So if it starts with RE, AWR, accepted, or anything, so these will be considered as reply. And if the subject starts with FW or FWD, it will be considered as forwarded email. I'll just quickly show you this in ServiceNow as well. If we go into email properties, under system properties, you would be able to see what are the replies and forward as default in ServiceNow. Now if you want to define your own identifiers for your forward or reply email, you can just put a comma and go ahead and put your own and save that record, and it will be automatically reflected in ServiceNow. And also if you want ServiceNow to accept emails, you just have to click this yes and then save. Similarly, if you want to enable outgoing of the emails from ServiceNow, you can click here yes, and then you will be able to send emails from ServiceNow as well. And the last thing is when you receive an email, a new record is created in ServiceNow in sys_email table with the details of that email. And there is one column there called receive type, and it will be categorized as new, forward, or reply according to this categorization. Next is watermark record number. So this is how we can identify the record number which the email is being referenced to. If you know, there are watermarks at the bottom usually. For example, if ServiceNow sends an email, it will append watermark, whether it could be invisible or maybe a visible one, or maybe there are options for with us that we can disable this watermark functionality, but it's ideal to add this because it will identify with which record this email was associated to. So for example, if I'm sending an email based on an incident, that an incident has been created for this user and I'm sending that email, it will be good if I will allow ServiceNow to add this watermark automatically, and this will identify this record. And when somebody replies to that email, ServiceNow will read this email and at the bottom it will see there is a watermark and it will be able to link this email with that particular record. So this watermark is always unique for each and every record. And if you read this last line, if no watermark is found, ServiceNow searches the subject and body for a record number. So ServiceNow will automatically try to find a record number from the subject or the body. Next is conditions. So how can we run a flow for each and every individual email. For example, if the email is coming for an incident, for a change, for a problem, or for your some custom built solution, how can you define a condition for that? And it is really important, because if you don't define a condition, your email can go into any of the flow designer and it will process that without knowing whether it is a correct one or not. I will just quickly show you creating an inbound flow and how can we define conditions for that. Let's go to ServiceNow. For that, I will type flow designer, and here on the top I will click new and then click on flow, and I will give a name here, for example demo inbound flow, and here I can say run as system user and I will submit this. Now a new flow has been created, and here on add a trigger I will add inbound email. So the trigger for this flow designer would be when ServiceNow receives an email. So this flow will automatically run at that time. Now next is we have to define the condition for which particular emails it should process that email. Click here and I will be able to see few fields from sys_email table where we can define the conditions, whether for example if subject contains not working. So if someone is saying in an email that my laptop is not working, my softwares are not working, Adobe is not working, Microsoft Word is not working, so that means that as an incident, and maybe I want to create an incident for that. And maybe we can say if receive type is new. For new, there will be no keyword at the starting of the subject like RE or FW. So if there is no identifier like that, that means it's a new email. So ServiceNow will automatically categorize that. And these are the email conditions. If these match, this flow will automatically run. And one thing to note, if the email is processed in this flow designer, it will not go ahead and look for any other inbound actions or any other flow designers as well. So it will stop the processing of that email here itself, and it will run this flow designer, and that's it. It will not run any other flow designers. Even there are 100 of flow designers in your system, but it will run only this particular one if these conditions match. So these conditions are very critical. Next is, what are the mailboxes given in ServiceNow to categorize those emails? The first one is inbox. When the email has been received in ServiceNow, so similar to your Outlook, when you receive an email, it's in your inbox, but there has no inbound email flow or inbound email action has been run on that. So these can be found in inbox under system mailboxes and inbound, and it will remain in the inbox until the email is processed by inbound email action or inbound flow, and then it will move to received. So as soon as the processing is done on that email, it will be moved to received mailbox, and if the email is identified as junk, it will move to the junk mailbox. So this can also be defined in ServiceNow system configuration. I'll just quickly show you these three mailboxes. If you go back here and type inbound and scroll down, and under system mailboxes you can see inbox, received and junk, and I have opened all these three here. And if you note in the URL, underlying table for all the mailboxes is same. It's just the mailbox value. There is a column here which changes. That's it. So how the categorization has been done for the emails which are coming in, that is classified under these mailboxes. That's it. Next is identifying the sender. How can we identify which sender has sent an email? So that is automatically attempted by ServiceNow, where it will try to find the email from the sys user table. So for example, if it has received an email from harditsingh@hotmail.com, it will try to find which user has harditsingh@hotmail.com in sys_user table, and it will identify and match that user with the sender of that email. And then what it will try to do, ServiceNow will impersonate the user when taking an action in response to that email. So that email will be processed as that user who has sent an email. If it's a self-service user, it will be processed like that. And if it's an ITIL user, it will be processed like that. And finally, we can access users information using user record data pill. Next is if no match is found. So for example, if email has been received from an unidentified user, then sender's email is added to the email's user field. So there is a field on sys underscore email that will be added there. And then it says here the user record is created automatically and then impersonated if automatic user creation is enabled. So if we go back into system property, and here we will be able to see there is one checkbox saying automatically create users for incoming emails from trusted domain. So this is out of the box unchecked. So ServiceNow doesn't allow automatically to create new users, and I would recommend keeping it as it is because you don't want to create a user for each and every email you are getting. But if you're, for example, receiving an email from these particular domains, it will allow to create new users. But in all the organizations I've worked with, they just create users only through LDAP and that's it. So you should keep it like that to avoid any confusion. And the last point is if we have deactivated that option of automatically creating a user, the guest user is impersonated. So a guest user would be created, or if it's already there in ServiceNow, it will be impersonated as that. Now let's quickly see what we are trying to do in this example. I will be sending an email to this ServiceNow instance and it should receive that email and it should check if the subject contains not working and the receive type is new. It should create a new incident in ServiceNow. So for that we had already created a trigger and these are the conditions, and then I will click on done, and then I will do an action where I will add an incident record. So here I will select action and search for create a record. And as soon as I click on that, I will get an option to add the table name. I want to add a new record in the incident table, so I will select incident here. And now it is asking for the fields. So there are two mandatory fields out of the box in incident table, that are the caller and the short description. So I will try to add caller from here. And from the right hand side, if you see, we have these data pills available from the email record or from the inbound email, and we have a user record which will automatically identified from the email which has been received, if you remember the email part. So it will match the email part and then try to find the user in the sys underscore user table. I will drag and drop this here, and then next I would try to add a short description. And in the short description I would pick up the subject of the email, and then I would also like to add description of that incident, and here I want to add the body text. So whatever would be in the body of that email would be added in the description. And if there are any other things which you want to set in the incident table, for example maybe the priority of this incident, so you can go ahead and put it as 3 moderate, and then maybe the assignment group. So for example, I would like to add the assignment group as service desk. So you can go ahead and do those as well. And I will click done here, and we are done, and then I will save this. And as soon as this flow designer is saved, we need to activate this as well to make it start working. I will activate this, and now this flow designer has been activated. Now any email which is coming into ServiceNow and has the subject as not working and the receive type is new, so that means if it's a new email and it doesn't have any relationship with any old records, that means it doesn't have any watermark and doesn't have any identifier in the subject like the forward or the reply. Now we will send an email from my Hotmail account to this ServiceNow instance, and we will try to create an incident from that. For that I have a prerequisite where I will go to the sys underscore user table, and here if you see I have added hardetsingh@hotmail.com, that is my email ID, to this user ID called AbleTutor. If I send an email from this email ID, it will be tagged as AbleTutor's user record, and it will create a incident with the caller as AbleTutor. So let's quickly test that. I'm in my Outlook and I will give the email ID of my ServiceNow instance, and here I will say my laptop is not working since today. Okay, and then I can maybe say in the body, a blue screen is coming up every time I switch it on. Okay, and I will send this email now, and as soon as I send this, I will go to my ServiceNow and I will go to inbound again, and I will open inbox where I should be receiving this email. I don't know if I was pretty quick on that or not. I will go to received as well. We haven't received anything on the received as well, or either the inbox. So we'll just give it a second. So I wasn't able to get the email in the inbox because as soon as it would have been received, it was processed quickly by ServiceNow. And if I go into this sys underscore email record, we can see the mailbox has been categorized automatically as received, and the received type is automatically categorized as new, and the state is processed. That means the flow designer has already run on this, and the subject is laptop is not working, and the recipient is the email ID of this particular instance. And if you notice here, the user ID, as I told, will be AbleTutor because it has matched the email ID from my inbox to this user, and this is the body of the email, and similarly the headers and all. And if we go down at the bottom, we can see email log, and here it said that it has executed the flow designer, and this is the trigger ID of that flow designer which was run, and this is the name of our flow designer, demo inbound flow. That means our flow designer has already run. So I am expecting an incident should be created with the subject and other values which we had given. I will open this incident table, and here we can see my laptop is not working since today. I will open this record, and here we can see the description is given as the body of the email, and the assignment group is the service desk, and the caller is AbleTutor. So everything has worked according to our requirement. We were able to create an incident. Now in our flow designer, we will try to handle the attachments as well. So for example, if somebody sent an attachment with that incident, that might be a screenshot of their laptop or maybe the software which is not working. So how to handle that attachment and attach it to the incident which was just created. For that, I will again create an action here, and I will say attachments. And if I scroll down a bit, there is an option for moving email attachments to a record. So I'll click here, and we just have to simply give the email record here. I will drag and drop this data pill and the target record, and the target record would be the incident which was just created, and I will drag and drop this, and I will say done, and that's it how you actually copy an attachment which was sent in the email to the target record. So this is how easy it gets, because in the inbound actions you will have to code it entirely using glide sys attachment and write each and every line of code. So this is a very low code where we haven't written a single line of code. So this is very useful for us, and this is the best practice recommended by ServiceNow to use flow designers instead of inbound actions wherever you can use them. I will click activate here, and I will try to send an email again with a different subject, and this time I will attach an email as well. And now it is activated. So here is another email which I have sent to ServiceNow instance with dev83065, which was just sent now, with an attachment that is the PDF and some description for that as well, or the email body. So I will come back to ServiceNow and I will see if we have received anything. So I will just give it a minute. I just received this email and it has been processed by ServiceNow just now. And this is the same email. I'll just open this. That software is not working and it has an attachment with that as well, which would have been processed. And if you can see here, attachment is categorized as PDF. So I'll go back to the incident table, and there is another incident created that software is not working, and we can see the attachment here which was sent in the email with the description as well. So this is how easily you can handle attachments in the flow designer instead of writing like 10 or 20 lines of code which are very complicated to manage and write as well. So I would recommend using flow designer instead of inbound actions wherever it is possible. Even you can go ahead and do some scripting in flow designer, which we will see in our further videos, but maximum times everything is given out of the box in flow designer where you don't have to write the code. I hope this video was helpful to you. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like this button, and if you have any questions please let me know in comments.